Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, narcissistic relationships, and healing from these relationships. So let's have a little bit of no contact conversation, because these conversations come up all the time. In this video, we're going to talk about the difference between when the narcissistic person goes no contact and a not narcissistic person goes no contact. No contact is a big topic, and it's coming up more and more for people. No doubt about it. It's a lifesaver for some people. It also brings mountains of grief for many people. I see it used most significantly in either A, narcissistic intimate relationships that people want out of permanently, but only works, like, for example, when you don't have other ties, like, for example, minor children and stuff, or B, narcissistic family systems. It is also something you see happen in some narcissistic friendships. In most cases, it's the tool of last resort when no matter what you have done to feel psychologically or even physically safe, nothing works. And it feels too triggering and too painful to be around them, so you go no contact. But sometimes narcissistic people are the ones that go no contact. We forget that, right? But it's different, right? However, ostensibly, they're going no contact. They pull the plug, they block you on Instagram, they block you on the phone and the email, all of it. Narcissistic no contact may come up. They may do it because they're angry at you about something, to punish you, to show you who's in control. In general, narcissistic no contact tends to be more impulsive and more reactive. Not narcissistic, non-narcissistic, if you will, no contact. While the narcissistic person might perceive it as coming out of nowhere, it has often been building up for a long time. When people who are not narcissistic go no contact, it's often in response not to an event or to a conflict, but like I said, it builds up over time. Now, narcissistic no contact often happens alongside other patterns such as stonewalling, silent treatment, passive aggression, and even coercive control. If the narcissistic person determines that disappearing can get them what they want, then they will do it. So the no contact episodes may be shorter term, for example, for a few weeks or a few months. And then when the narcissistic person shows up again, oftentimes they're in the dominant position because the person they disappeared from doesn't want it to happen again. When non-narcissistic, people who are not at all narcissistic, go no contact, it's generally not meant to be punitive, but protective. It's a way of no longer doing the dance and not participating in a harmful system where you're not seen or heard. But because narcissistic and antagonistic people may go no contact to be punitive, when not narcissistic people get closer to the decision to go no contact, especially if they have experienced the no contact silent treatment from narcissistic people, they do often question themselves, and they also wonder if they are engaging in the same sort of tantrum as the narcissistic person who is using no contact as a tool of control. This is where it gets really muddy. Now, a big difference here is grief. When people who are not using no contact as a tool of punishment go no contact, meaning like you didn't go no contact to punish them, you went no contact because you just can't do this anymore. Grief becomes a prevailing emotion. Grief over the loss of the relationship, grief over the loss of the hope. There may even be pity and guilt in you about doing this, that you are aware that the narcissistic person doesn't like it. They may even be playing the victim, and your tendency to want to rescue them can also fill you with negative feelings after you make the choice to go no contact. There may be shame about your decision as well. I have never met someone who has gone no contact with a narcissistic person or narcissistic family or system who said it was easy. Most said it was necessary to move forward, to heal, or to live a whole and authentic life, but nobody said it was easy, and nobody said it was impulsive. But as a rule, narcissistic people will communicate about no contact saying things like, serves them right, they don't deserve me, F them, nobody treats me like this and gets away with it, I'll show them, this is what you get when you mess with me. We see petulance and rage, entitlement, vindictiveness, victimhood, and they also use it as a manipulative bargaining chip to get you to come back into the relationship on their terms. Narcissistic no contact is different, and I have talked myself with narcissistic people who have gone no contact, and it's very clear. It's much more punishment oriented. Things like, nobody talks to me like that and gets away with it. Let's see how they feel now that they can't talk to me. I wonder how long until they come begging back to me. It's got that vibe, right? There may even be grandiose fantasy around no contact. I can't wait until they fall apart without me and crawl back. I will make them beg for my apologies. The no contact is oriented toward teaching someone a lesson when it's done by a narcissistic person. It's not about personal psychological safety. I know some of you watching this are very protective of narcissistic people and you're advocates for narcissistic people. And you'll say the reason narcissistic people go no contact is reactive safety because they're overwhelmed and their grandiose defenses lead them to position it as grandiose entitled vindictiveness. But I'm sorry, folks, it has a very different vibe. But if you have been on the receiving side of no contact in a narcissistic relationship by the narcissistic person, it can feel awful and confuse you in your own situation because you may associate going no contact with acting out, with being vindictive, with not solving the problem. There is no solution, by the way. And remember too, no contact is a choice that's not available to many, if not most people. Some people who have gone no contact have said it has saved their life. Other people have gone no contact and said it has left them lonely. Others have gone no contact and said it was necessary initially for healing, and then when they got pulled back in, they felt better able to cope. Other people say that they wish they could do it, but couldn't because of children, finances, cultural issues, or other practical factors. Your no contact, if you're not narcissistic, is very different than a narcissistic person's no contact. I promise you that. It doesn't make it easier. It may make it harder. And no contact is one of those awful forks in the relationship road where both roads ahead are very difficult. Again, I always am going to wish you strength, whatever you choose, because I don't think that there's anyone gets to dictate no contact or not except you as a person. You've got to be careful to not confuse an antagonistic narcissistic person's petulant, punitive, passive-aggressive tantrum with your very real struggle on how to feel whole and psychologically safe as you try to figure out how to heal after a narcissistic relationship. And to just end this video on a really messed up twist, it's also not unusual for like I said, the narcissistic person to go no contact because you're not giving them their way. And for some reason, no contact gets broken. Usually the narcissistic person comes back and they'll say things like, well, are you ready to forgive me? So as I said, just when you think it can't get more confusing, these relationships always will. But understand that difference because I think that the no contact conversation is an incredibly muddy space in the narcissistic relationship. And so as you make that decision around safety, understand it's very different than someone throwing a tantrum and saying, I'm not talking to you until I get my own way. Hope that's helpful, and thanks again.